How's it going, everybody? Hope you're all having an amazing day. Jagex just held a live stream Q&A to answer any questions about the Trailblazer Reloaded League that is launching tomorrow. And I just skimmed through the whole thing to see if there was any interesting questions that were asked and any sort of reveals that happened. And while there were no questions that led to any reveals, they actually decided to drop the final teaser early. It's a wild one, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a bit of an extended video here because we have all of the tiers of relics to go through. I'm going to be talking about each one of these relics and giving you guys my choices for relic where we can. I'm not sure if we have the descriptions yet, but we for sure have the names and pictures. It's not too late to enter the giveaway for the bond. Just comment down below bond or something, put bond somewhere in your comment and you will be entered in that giveaway. We're going to be announcing the winners live over at kick.com/Fringe-Patriot-Gaming. Go drop a follow not to miss out. We're also going to be announcing it on this channel's community page as well as in our day one of Trailblazer Reloaded video that we post. So be sure to keep an eye out to check and see if you won. If this video helps you out at all, then help me out by hitting that like button. But let's go ahead, cut this plug and get right into it. Yes, you saw that right, ladies and gentlemen. There are 8 tiers of relics that we have to choose from, and we have at least all of their names to go over. So let's go ahead and start breaking these down one by one and then finalizing our choice, hopefully. All right, let's start off with our tier 1 relics. We know what these are: Endless Harvest, Production Prodigy, and Trickster. I don't need to go over these. I have videos going over these. Speaking of which, if there's anything you need to know about leagues, go and stop by the Trailblazer Reloaded playlist that we have. Everything you need to know is sitting right there. But as for the first relic, we are going to be going with Production Prodigy. Moving on to the tier 2 relics, we have Globetrotter, which has been revealed, but we also have Fairy's Flight. Globetrotter is where you receive that unique teleport amulet that allows teleporting to a large number of locations from jewelry and spellbook. And Fairy's Flight, I'm assuming, is a lot like the previous league's fairy relic, the one that nobody liked. If you picked this one, you picked the wrong one. And I think it's going to be the same thing this league, actually. So we're going to be going with Globetrotter. I think that's going to do us a whole lot better. The access to the fairy rings anywhere is quite handy, I'm not going to lie, but you know, it is niche, and being able to teleport to so many different spots is so much better. I chose the teleport relic in the first Trailblazer League, and I did enjoy it. So we're going to go with Globetrotter on this one. Moving on to the tier 3 relics, you have Banker's Note and Fire Sail to choose from. Now, again, we know the descriptions of these already, so I don't need to go over that. But I will give you guys the one that I'm going to choose, which is Banker's Note. And I'm choosing that because we are doing Production Prodigy. So we are basically going to be able to Endless Harvest on top of Production Prodigy. Let me know down in the comments which one you guys are going to choose, because this is actually probably a tier that people are going to be 50-50 on. Coming up next, we have tier 4 relics, which are our combat relics. And again, we know what these all do, and technically I've already made a video talking about which combat relic I'm choosing, and we are going to be going with Brawler's Resolve. Moving on into the tier 5 relics, it really starts to get juicy from here on out. First, we have Treasure Seeker. Then we have Bloodthirsty, and finally we have Infernal Gathering. Treasure Seeker and Infernal Gathering are both relics that were in previous leagues. Treasure Seeker made it to where NPCs drop clue scrolls at a flat rate of 1 in 10, and it also made it to where all unstarted clues are now stackable, as well as making it to where all of the clues that you do have the lowest number of steps possible for that tier of clue scroll. Infernal Gathering gave you some tools like the Trailblazer Axe, the Trailblazer Pickaxe, and the Trailblazer Harpoon, which cooked the fish as you caught them, burned the logs as you chopped them, and smelted the ores as you mined them. As to whether or not they're going to be making any tweaks to these, I'm not entirely sure, but our final one is Bloodthirsty, and this one has not been in a Leagues before, but judging by the icon, I'm assuming this does have something to do with Slayer. Depending on Bloodthirsty's description, kind of depends on which one we're gonna pick here, but I'm thinking if Bloodthirsty is not something that is interesting enough for me to want to pick, then we are probably going to end up going with Treasure Seeker, just so we can hopefully knock out any clue scroll related tasks. Since we'll have Production Prodigy and the Banknote, I'm not too worried about the Infernal Gathering tools, but definitely if Bloodthirsty is something that buffs Slayer in any substantial amount, we may end up going with that. Let me know down in the comments what you guys are thinking about this tier, but moving on into tier 6, we have Equilibrium, Farmer's Fortune, and Ruinous Power. Equilibrium was in a previous league, and it made it to where each time the player gained experience, they also gained additional experience equal to 10% of the player's total level. This experience was not multiplied by the league's multiplier, but if you paired this with Production Master, each item that you processed triggered the effect. Farmer's Fortune is still to be determined as to what that might be, and then finally we have Ruinous Powers, and honestly, because I'm not unlocking Kandarin and will not be able to unlock Piety, I'm thinking that we are going to go with Ruinous Powers on this one, just so we can have access to the prayers that buff our melee. Farmer's Fortune could end up having a description that changes that, but I do honestly highly doubt that. So moving on into the tier 7 relics, we have Soul Stealer, Weapon Master, and Berserker. Weapon Master we already know what is. It is where the special attacks will have 100% accuracy, and you can sacrifice some of your hit points for additional special attack. Judging by Soul Stealer's icon, it looks like it may be a relic that heals you based on the amount of damage that you do. And then looking at the Berserker relic, what I'm thinking when I see this is possibly something to where the lower your hit points are, the actual higher amount of damage that you can do. Now, this is probably the most interesting tier we've run into so far. It's also the one I'm having a hardest time picking a relic for. And I think that's mainly because 2 out of the 3 effects don't technically have their descriptions yet, and because if I'm right with my guesses on what Soul Stealer and Berserker do, all 3 of these effects are technically really good. I liked what I saw with the special attack accuracy, being able to wail on bosses with the Bandos Godsword and lower their defense is going to be only multiplying the ease that you have when you're taking on some of these bosses, but having constant heals from damage and or doing more damage at a lower health may also be worth looking into. So honestly, if Soul Stealer is a relic that gives you hit points back based on the amount of damage you do, we're probably going to end up going with that. But we are picking the melee relic, which is going to boost our defense by 50%, so possibly we end up going with Berserker because we'll be a little bit more tankier. I'm not 100% sure on this tier. Let me know down in the comments what you guys are thinking you're gonna pick for this one. But finally, moving on to the surprise tier, the tier 8 relics that we have are Executioner, Undying Retribution, and Guardian. We know what all 3 of these do, which is quite interesting. Executioner is going to deliver a killing blow to enemies less than 20% hit points. Undying Retribution makes it to where when you die, you will be instantly revived with full hit points, and on your death, you will deal damage to nearby opponents in a 5x5 area centered around the player. And on top of all that, the deaths from Undying Retribution do not count toward death penalties in raids. For example, having the relic effect proc in Chambers of Xeric will not deduct point. And then finally, you have Guardian, where you'll receive the horn where you get the ally. The ally's max hit is 15, can be used alongside thralls, uses all 3 combat styles, can potentially deal an area of effect damage, lasts for 30 minutes at a time. And honestly, I'm torn between Undying Retribution and Executioner, because reading Undying Retribution literally kind of sounds like the game is giving you cheats, right? It's making you invulnerable to death, meaning that at level 3, you could potentially be running around at level 3 and just using this over and over and over and over again to end up completing a raid. Like, you're gonna go into a raid and it doesn't matter what sort of food you have or anything like that. You're gonna be able to run Undying Retribution over and over again is what it sounds like, which is actually wild. It's almost so overpowered to where it makes any gear or any other buffs that you have irrelevant, because even if you die, you're fine. And then we have Executioner, which is the second one I'm kind of torn on, which is less cheesy than Undying Retribution, but is still crazy overpowered. And if I'm being entirely honest, if Undying Retribution works the way that I think it does, then I think that's just what we're gonna be picking, because why not, right? Why not? You had an off raid, but it doesn't matter, because when you die, you're fine. You're gonna get that loot anyways, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna make grinding the game just that much easier. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all 8 tiers of relics that we have coming to us tomorrow in Leagues. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about all of these. Also, be sure to keep an eye out on the comments for once we get any solid definitions for some of these mystery relics. But that's all the information that I wanted to go over in this video. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. I'm out.